So Ty, thanks for doing this, man. Any crack with you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I watched a few of your episodes and I was like, oh, this dude's really cool and knowledgeable. And
Oh,
so
sweet,
I
thanks.
thought, yeah, the interviews with Van Dyke Parks was Mark Lynette, and a few others I caught. Yeah, really cool stuff, man.
Van Dyke's a dude. He's a proper
That,
dude.
that interview was hilarious. He's such a vibe, isn't he?
Which one was that now? Is the one where I had like red hair, or was it? He's been on twice, so I did two of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I caught the one where he was on with that girl, the harpist.
Oh, that's the second one. Yeah, with Veronica. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. She's cool, man. She's talented.
I got to check out her stuff. I didn't go and listen to it, but I mean, if Van Dyke's into it, then it must be she must be
Yeah,
amazing.
it's very cool. Like that's the cool thing with Van Dyke. You can just literally ask him a question and you don't have to say anything. It just go, okay, cool. And it just you can let him go for like 20 minutes. Brilliant. You don't have to say anything. Because he's so articulate and everything. You could just talk for ages and you're like,
He's
cool
like
man.
the smartest guy on earth.
He's
And
so yeah, he's super intelligent. Like
are you ready for the complete opposite?
come on, man. Come on. Do you know
Actually, I've never done like an interview before, so this
oh
is
have you not?
no, like the past week I've been doing these live streams,
Oh,
with
I
the whole
caught a few
smiley
of them. Yeah, I caught
everything.
a few of them. They're cool, man.
Yeah, yeah, it was, man, I was nervous as hell for that first one. You know, because it was like, uh-oh, the spotlight's on you, man. You better you better say something
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I've never really had a reason to. I've never been interested in doing that kind of thing, but I thought so many questions were coming in for that particular thing.
Yeah.
It might be good to like sort of explain some of my reasoning and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't worry, I'm not an interviewer. It's I'm terrible. I would be terrible at that. So it's kind of like, it's easier with a podcast because you're just kind of talking to somebody. So it's just
Right.
what was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? That walk on by, man, that you did was fucking incredible. Like walk on by and Old Man River. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. They were class, dude. Like they were
Thank you
so
so much,
good.
man.
Like
Thank
how
you.
like time wise, how long would you put into doing them? From we'll say the obviously you got the initial idea, but from
Mm,
that to finish them and mixing and are you mastering everything yourself or you're not sending it
yeah.
to anyone to master? You're just mastering yourself, yeah?
Yeah, I'm mastering in the box.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, nothing too crazy for the mastering. Like you know, I went a little crazier with Smile AI. Not to keep promoting that one. I sound like a but yeah, I I really so mastering isn't like my profession, but
Mm,
um I really went above and beyond to try to figure out like the best way to master that project. But for Walk On By, that one took like uh God, I can't even remember. This was a long time ago, man. 3 months, okay?
okay, that's
I
yeah.
mean, it feels like an eternity because I'm just always working on something, But I think it was probably a couple days on that one. That's my guess.
Ah, it sounds great, man. Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Old Man River was like a full. No, it wasn't a full week. Both of those were like a couple days, I think.
That's quick,
Um,
man. That is quick.
yeah, yeah. I mean, once you start, you kind of just, kind of like the way Van Dyke Parks talks. Like that's how I do my music.
I'm
Once you
envious of that,
once you
man.
start, then and I mean that in a very good way, by the way.
That that's a good way
Yeah.
to be, though. That's a good because you can like make decisions and stuff like that. That's my problem. I find it so hard to finish things. It's just like, oh no, man, I could
Mm,
keep doing this and keep doing this. It's fucking stupid, but
right.
that's a great way to be. It's just kind of just you know what you're doing and you just finish it. So it's
That's the thing. Actually, Brian Wilson, he was asked like, what's the one piece of advice that you would give to a songwriter
mm,
or producer, whomever upcoming musicians, and he said, finish what you start. And can you
yeah.
imagine? That's like that's loaded, man. Because like this is coming from Brian, who has so many unfinished things. I mean, that's like, and he's right. Like he knows. Like it's like, look, don't be like me. Finish your
Yeah.
shit.
Thank God he came. in the 60s, because if Brian now, you'd never have a Beach Boys album with like Pro Tools and stuff like that. Because like just
He'd
you know
still be
it's
working on Surfing
yeah,
Safari.
man. Oh God, could you imagine? It's the song everyone wants. But like, just be forever at it. Because you can go forever. I mean,
Mhm.
I've had many conversations with musicians and stuff that obviously you're a musician, of course. Um, and you can yourself, you can get caught up in that thing of nothing's ever good enough. And then you
Yes.
kind of can
Oh,
lose
for
sight of it.
sure.
You can almost overproduce it and overmix it, and then you kind of
Mm.
I'm sure like you get that. If you mix something one day and you're like that sounds great, and then you go back
Mm.
to it the next day, you're like, what the fuck did I? You've you have these. You're like, what the fuck, man?
Oh yeah. Yeah, all the time, especially with Smile. Um, because there's so many little micro decisions you have to make.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that kind of thing happens for a reason. It's not easy to just get like a great product out of music because yeah, there are these so many little variables.
Mm,
It's not just like doing uh, I don't know what to compare it to, but like, it's not like you're just doing something that has a specific goal. Um, it's like you got to sort of go through that journey and then sort of know instinctively, okay, that's where I want it to go. Um, so yeah, I mean, with Smile stuff, every day I was waking up and listening to the mixes again and being like, ah, man, I got to do this, I got to do that, and I'd make mental notes. Sometimes I would write it down, but mostly I was able to remember it would be like three things. Actually, the way I did it was I would work all day, and then at night I would bounce down like an MP3 of everything that I did, and then at
okay.
night as I'm falling asleep in bed, I would listen to everything on the phone, and it's a different way to hear it, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And then I would catch things that weren't necessarily related to the technical side, like the mixing side, because you can't really hear the mix so well, right?
Right.
But things like, oh, Brian's voice is a little bit late there at, in the second chorus,
Yeah.
so tomorrow I'm gonna fix that. Or I could tell like these vocals are a bit too loud here. Tomorrow I'm gonna fix that. And you just do it over and over and over and over again. Um, and so that's kind of how I was doing that project. It was like everything at the same time, kind of, just bit by bit for each one. And every day it would get a little better. Um, but you know that like at some point you have to let it go. You can't just
Mm,
keep working on it forever, right? I probably could have kept working on it, for another month or who knows how long. But
yeah. You were like, now's
um,
the time.
yeah, I kind of set a deadline for myself, and that's what I do is I'm a producer songwriter, so there's a lot of deadlines and stuff like that, and
Mm,
I kind of I guess I'm used to working like that, so I thought, well, maybe I should self-impose it this time instead of some company telling me
I get you.
that
I get
they
you.
and yeah, I think it came out good. A lot of people are pissed off that there's no good vibrations and look, but other than that,
Yeah,
yeah.
how many have you like gone on forums and stuff and read about because when the first AI stuff came out,
Mm.
I remember, going on
Hmm.
forums like Steve Hoffman and stuff like that. And you'd
Mm.
see people would mention I think I don't know, it was the first thing that I remember of yours that got kind of mentioned. And I heard that. I was like, that sounds fucking brilliant, man. I thought that sounded great.
Oh,
And
cool.
there's all these kind of purists are like, oh man, like just bullshit thing. And they're like, I think people don't they look at it a weird way of like, it's not the Beatles. It's like, well, of course it's not the Beatles. Or it's not this. It's kind of, I
Right.
think it's how you view it. And I think some people, no matter how good it sounds, they just will not, they just don't want to accept it, which is a strange thing because
Mm.
you're not trying to replace the Beatles or trying to like
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I just think it's kind of, I like it. Like that, even that Return to Pepperland you did, I thought that sounded fucking great, man. I thought that
Thank you,
was,
bro.
it's class. Did you use the drums from Lovely Rita on that?
Oh, good ear. Yes, I did.
Ah,
Sure
okay,
did. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, that's just that drum track just screams, "Hey, it's the Beatles." You know?
That was cool, man. So like,
Yeah.
sorry, back to the Smile. I'm jumping miles ahead. Um,
Mm.
when you're like taking things apart, um,
Hmm.
what programs are you using? Are you using like, I know there's a few. There's like La La L La La.
La
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 la.
la.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I said it wrong on my live stream. Yeah, it's like la 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 dot AI
yeah.
or la la dot AI, I
Do
think.
you use that one?
I do. Yeah. I was using it a bit more in the beginning, but actually, there's still some applications like I think I pulled apart the strings from Surf's Up with that.
Wow.
Um,
Stemroller's
yeah,
good too. Have you ever used Stemroller?
I haven't tried that one. No.
Yeah, it's actually a free
Uh,
program you download. It's like 5 gigs, like. So you download and
oh wow.
it'll split things out into like 4 stems. But it
Okay.
actually splits the vocals really good. Like the vocals are probably the most impressive thing it does, and the drums are quite good too. It's free, like it's a free AI program. Because I
Oh
think
wow.
some,
Okay.
yeah, it's called Stemroller. So
I'm gonna
yeah,
have to check that out.
yeah, it's pretty good. Because I used that what a fucking I used it ages ago. Maybe
Yeah,
like when it came out.
it's not as good as the newer AI stuff
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but for certain things, because they have like a string algorithm,
Okay,
excuse me,
okay.
woodwind, um, they're kind of a lot of them say beta. They also attempt to like extract guitar, piano. Um, Sometimes, you have to play with it because like sometimes you want to extract the guitar, but it turns out like the woodwind one gets it better than the guitar
Okay.
algorithm. So yeah, there's a lot of experimenting with that. And I did play with this kind of thing, especially for what song was it? I think Child is Father of the Man. I was really trying to pull apart that track
Hmm.
and get the piano isolated from it. Everything was like together. Like the piano, the guitar, I forget what else, but the way it was mixed and maybe just the way it was recorded, everything was sort of like on one side. And yeah, so I remember like having to use multiple different uh what is it called? Algorithms to try to get rid of try to separate the piano. And
Right.
it was such a I wish I could show you the session because it was such a clusterfuck of stuff. I literally in the end, like I had to make a bus just for the piano because I had all these different extractions. And then I remember when I extracted the piano, like it was missing the attack for some reason.
Oh
So then
no.
I had to figure out a way to try to get the attack. And I found it like in like a vocal stem. I was like, what the fuck? How is it there? I don't know. But yeah, it was stuff like that. It got really complicated. There was like 4 tracks in the end just for the piano. Um, and it's still not like super clean, but I'm not working with Peter Jackson stuff, like he's got the real deal
That
stuff.
that AI and that Beatles stuff is incredible. Like that Peter Jackson stuff. It's
Yes.
fucking you can't hear
Yeah.
any artifacts. Like
No, there's yeah.
that's the weird thing. There's a program by Zat oh Jesus, what they called. It's a software program called Zatnap or something like that. But they have this program called
Okay.
Unchirp, and it actually will kind of mitigate artifacts on something.
What is it called now? Unchirp?
It's called Unchirp. So it'll actually it's kind of it's just literally like 4 little dials on it, and you can kind of push it up, and it'll
Mm.
take artifacts. It'll like smooth them out because so they're not so like artifacty, if that's even a word. But they don't
Oh
have that
wow.
awful kind of yeah. I used it for certain things. I remember I did a podcast before, and it was just for whatever reason it was full of artifacts, and I cleaned
Hmm.
the shit out of it and used
Oh
isotope
wow.
and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. It's not going to do it perfectly, but it actually does a quite good job when you find the sweet spot of it, if you know what I mean. Well, actually, speaking of plugins, what plugins are you using on? Is there any specific plugins that you use? Remember, I said to you on one of the live streams we're using the J37, which is actually really good. That feedback thing, if you can automate the feedback and get that, that Brian Wilson feedback thing that they do on Smile, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I so that's Abbey Road, huh? Waves Abbey Road Studios J37. I wonder if I have it and I just haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty cool just for that thing. I literally use it just for like
oh
delay and a feedback, nothing
oh,
else.
wow. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I've been I used a lot of Kramer tape, which is maybe a
Ah,
bit
right.
older than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, on a lot of tracks because when you do these AI vocals, they're like super clean. So you
Yeah.
want to dirty them up a little bit and get them to match the vibe of the tracks, right?
Ah,
And
right.
um So yeah, that's one way that I go about. I do a lot of rolling off with really almost all waves, but just like Q10 stuff like that, CLA 76 for compression.
Okay.
Um, I did use like Pultec in some cases. I think for the maybe for the mastering, I went for the Pultec just because it has like a bit of a vintagey air to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I use Sound Toys. I love Sound Toy stuff.
Oh, they're good, man.
Yeah,
They're good.
yeah, really cool stuff. Actually, I was trying to use a little altar boy to
That is the best
do.
plugin ever, man. It's
It really
literally
is. It's great, but I was trying to use it on Dennis's vocal on Child, but yeah,
okay.
it was giving me too many artifacts. I couldn't even lower it like 0.1% without hearing stuff. So
Oh no.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really just for effects, I think. It's not for restoration or anything like that. But uh yeah, but I do love that. And I used Decapitator quite a bit throughout the
Brilliant.
project. Also Gullfoss, which is like an intelligent
That's a great
dynamic
plugin.
EQ.
That's a
Great
great little
plugin.
plugin. Yeah. It's kind of
Yeah.
what's the word? Mild, but it does something. You know,
Hmm.
you take it off and you're like, oh, can I hear something? It's not like super extreme, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
what's that? Soothe can be super extreme if you use that one.
Soothe. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another one. That's a great one.
Yeah, it's a
I
great one.
kind of just learned about that towards the end of the project. And
That would have been handy. That would have been handy.
no, it was good that I learned about it when I did because there were some things like I remember Bruce's vocal in Love to Say Dada, his lead.
Mm.
It was so harsh, like in the mix. And so in the mastering session for the whole album, I actually pulled his just the little clip with his lead, which
Mm.
is like 2 bars or something. I pulled it onto a different track and I ran it through Soothe,
Ah.
literally in the mastering session. So um it did such a great job of taming those harsh frequencies in his voice. Um and you don't even hear it, you don't hear a difference because it's not affecting anything else. It's only going after like, the weird stuff in his voice.
Mm. Yeah.
Um
Do you
it's really
find
really effective.
like Beatles stuff as opposed like I mean I love both the production wise, but they're obviously different. But Beach Boy stuff
Mm,
has definitely more like harshness in them than Beatles stuff. Do you find that by when you were, maybe I'm wrong, but did you notice that when you're, because obviously you're working very close to them when you're actually doing demixing
mm.
stuff? Is there any
Right.
difference you find with them, frequency spectrum wise?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've pulled apart enough Beatles to know exactly yet because well, they're definitely like heavier, I'd say, right? The Beatles are a bit like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's more
like
bassy kind of in Beatles, isn't there, as opposed to
yes,
Beach
more
Boys?
bass, definitely. More heavy guitars. Um, yeah, and their voices, like Lennon's voice, is pretty like cutting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Y-
maybe not too dissimilar to like Mike Love's voice in a way. Not, of course, it's a totally different voice, but like EQ wise, I think maybe they're sort of like in that nasally sort of range,
I
you know?
get what you mean. I get what you
Yeah.
mean.
And then Brian and Paul would probably be comparable in a way, or Carl.
I think Carl probably had the best voice out of a lot of them. Like Carl's voice is just, I love Brian's
Oh,
too, but I think Carl's just had that
yeah.
amazing like smoothness or something.
He really developed into a great singer
Mm,
like towards the end of the 60s. Uh
for sure.
early 70s, like yeah, like Surfs Up stuff and Sunflower stuff. He's just such a beast.
Yeah, and even like I know Dennis wasn't the most amazing singer, but I loved his voice, especially on Pacific Ocean Blue. I think that like some of the vocals on that are brilliant. Even though he's singing out of tune in some of it, so perfect for that record.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's so weird. Like what man, I feel like his voice took a worse turn than Brian's did, really. Like
I
it's
know.
like no?
Oh, for sure, for
Oh,
sure.
sorry, I thought you said no. Yeah,
I was saying I know.
yeah.
Sorry, the Irish
Gotcha.
accent, bro.
Yes, Zoom, come on, man. Let's get your compression settings right. Uh
Yeah.
so- but yeah, I do love that album, and You and I is such a good song.
Oh, dude,
Um
yeah,
it's like one of the best ballad, or if you want, is that a ballad? I guess it's like a mid-tempo ballad.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
easy listening, chill vibe,
yeah.
lo-fi music.
And Barbara
But
is cool too.
Barbara's a
Barbara's
great, yeah, Forever, Barbara. I mean, dude, that just reminds me of like the whole Feel Flows box set, which is
That was class.
shit. Right, that thing just kicks my ass, man. Like everything on there is just great. Like
The
that was
o
just such a great era for them.
the only gripe I have about that is there's too much top end on some of those tracks. It's like Jesus Christ, bro. Like it's
Yeah,
very top heavy, which for
yeah,
me, I'm kind of I don't know. Are you the same? Do you? I don't like shit that's too bright. I know
too bright.
I don't like things stuff that's too bright. I don't know what it is. It's like
Mm.
when you're mixing, yeah, it's something's too bright. I don't know. Like I find that when things are, especially old songs that get remastered, they tend
Yeah,
to just
yeah,
get pumped way too bright. And I think a bit of dark, you need a bit of darkness, I think, in
for
mixing.
sure. Yeah, I know a lot of people like to blame Mark Lynette for this, but I think it could just be like the mastering engineer. I don't think he mastered it, right?
No, yeah, it could be that. It's hard to know, isn't it? It could be that. But
It's probably a
yeah,
mix of the two, but I think as maybe as a mastering engineer, you need to be like aware of, oh, well, this song has a lot of highs compared to the other song. Maybe I should like pull down the highs as opposed to increasing it even more, you know?
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
it's a yeah, I wonder. I don't know who did the mastering, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think people should give Mark Lynette a little break because
Mark Lynette's a dude, man. He's a total dude. Like, because it must be though, because if you think about it, like the newer Carol and the Passions and Holland doesn't suffer from that kind of fatigue in high end.
ah,
So
interesting.
yeah, that's a great era too. Isn't that strange about about the beach? Not strange, but it sucks about the Beach Boys. I always, that like what could have been kind of. I know they did shit tons, but like just kind of what could have been if Brian didn't go. Obviously, his own issues, but I always wondered like what would
Yeah,
have happened. You know,
right,
like
right. Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, yeah, that for the Sail on Sailor box set, I feel like the Brian stuff is just it took a nosedive compared to Feel Flows. You know, it's like now you're starting to get the really weird stuff. Like uh what was that one? Not clanging maybe or
oh God, not Ding Dong, Ding Dong. Oh, that's on
it
Love
was
You.
right. But I think that was recorded in like 73
Yeah, maybe. And like that
um
weird fucking transistor radio fucking Holland EP. That's just mad shit, like
yeah, yeah.
mad shit.
Yeah, it's you know it yeah, something happened in those years, it was like I think Sunflower Surfs Up was like the last like of the really really great stuff where Brian's still firing on all cylinders. Is that the right
Yeah.
terminology? Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think
You
about
know,
it, this whole world like is an amazing song. Like
that's an incredible
all the
song.
modulation in that song, you don't even notice it. Like just Sunflower is for me
Yes.
is up I mean it's not quite there, but it's kind of it's on that tier with Pet Sounds and Smile for me. I think Sunflower is amazing.
100%. Yeah, I remember when I was introduced to it as a kid, and a family friend told me about it and said, "Listen to the vocals, listen to this. This is as good as Pet Sounds." And yeah, yeah, he was right. Like it took a bit, and it's a totally different sound and everything, and
Yeah,
different everything. But yes, it is. It's totally on that level. I probably enjoy it even more than Pet Sounds, to be honest. Like,
really,
yeah, I
really.
think so because it's just I don't know, man. It's just the vibe,
Yeah,
the
it's got a
vibe.
good vibe. It's
It
got a
really
good
does.
vibe.
It's pretty positive, but it's also got like all I excuse me, all I want to do. Like that's just maybe
Man,
the best song of all time. Like,
it's such a great song. It's
It's so
such a
good,
great song.
man.
It is
The
slightly jarring though, the way it's kind of to one side. I'm like, what the fuck? When it's kind of like the drums. Like I kind of
yeah.
that is something that used to drive me daft when I was a kid, not a kid, but when I was into Beatles as a teenager. I was like, when you listen to the stereo of the stuff, you'd be like, why is the drums on the left side? You don't get it. It's because you grew up with that, and then you read back about how the way they mix stereo and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be something
Mhm.
cool with AI, what they can actually be able to do of to take, we'll say something like that and put the drums in the center and kind of fill out everything to the side.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah. I mean, they did a what was it, an instrumental and backing vocals mix on the Feel
Yeah,
Float box set, and that was like more conventionally mixed, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and it was interesting to hear it because it sounds different. Like the snare sounds a lot different when you just have it sort of raw.
True.
I don't know what he did to process that back in 1970. But uh, yeah, Steve Desper was doing some really interesting stereo stuff back all the way back then. It's like what, how? I don't know what he was
Yeah.
doing, but yeah, and it also almost sounds like the drums are programmed, kind of,
Yeah. Yeah, they do
right?
have that sound, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there probably is some sort of like rhythm box in there, but I think when you listen to the session, it's like someone's really playing that shit.
Yeah. Man, it's just I don't know. You can't. Some of those just stuff you just can't recreate. And I'm not saying you can't recreate them, but it's the vibe more than anything, isn't it? That it's just so hard to
Yeah.
recreate. Of like just all those dudes in a room playing together. It's fucking.
Yes.
That's hard to
Yeah.
recreate. I think you can. I think you can create it, but it's
Hmm.
takes time. Do you know Spirit of Eden by Talk Talk?
I don't know.
Dude, this is like one of the best albums fucking ever. So it was like,
Really?
oh, dude, it's fucking, yeah, it's incredible. Like it doesn't sound like anything. It was like, like they were. So for example, I'll give you the short. I won't bore you with, but literally they were like, uh, band that were like set up to be like Duran Duran, but the lead singer Mark Hollis was into like jazz.
Okay.
And they did that
Yeah.
song, "It's My Life." Remember, No Doubt cover that song. It's my life.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
So they went from that to doing this album in the dark in a year and had no like, just projectors and fucking oil lamps and everything. And they'd get guys in to play, and the guys would play like two notes and be like, yeah, that's fine. And they were like, oh, okay. And they were literally like piecing things together like you would do now on Pro Tools back in the 80s. And they created
Wow.
this dude. It's called Spirit of Eden. It's just one of the I think it's one of the best albums ever. Nothing sounds like it.
Wow.
Nothing sounds like it. It's like you put it on and it's just like, whoa, dude. There's like guitar kicks in and you're like, holy shit, man. It's just one of those records you're like, wow. It's just wow.
Was it a hit?
No, no. What I meant to ask you was, did you do that
Hmm.
Smile AD?
That was me.
Oh
You fi-
man.
you figured me out, man.
That was cool, man. I remember it, like how long ago was that?
That was probably 2012, like early 2012,
Shit,
because
man.
it would have been after the Smile Sessions box set came out.
Ah, yes, that was it.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
that was cool, and I was kind of wondering. I was like, is that the same dude? I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe. I'm sure other
Yeah.
people have asked you that. I'm not the first.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. That was a lot of fun to do way back when I was a little younger, and I was just smoking weed all the time, and I got crazy and just started repitching Beach Boys harmonies from the era, but actually I remember I utilized "Can't Wait Too Long" over and over and over again for that project because they have those
Brilliant.
those really great harmonies, like those long oohs and ahs and stuff. So
Ah,
you could it was and Melodyne, the polyphonic editing, which was around back then, uh, it was really friendly with that, and I would be able to twist and turn all the chords into different chords. Uh,
ah,
so
that's
that,
interesting.
there was a lot of time stretching, a lot of polyphonic editing with that stuff to try to. I guess it was probably the first attempt to try to like sync up vocals or add actual Beach Boys vocals to Smile, right?
Yeah, yeah. That was cool. I really liked that. I really liked that. We're back in Jesus, that's 2012. Shit, man. I'm getting old.
Yeah,
Holy
it's been a
fuck.
while, and
Wow.
I was referencing it a bit for this project because I actually remember a lot of it, and I thought at one point, well, probably shouldn't do anything that I did on Smile AD on this, and I remember sort of thinking, all right, what would I do now? And then I just kept thinking of the same arrangements that I did for Smile AD. So I was like, you know what? Let me just listen to it again, and apparently maybe maybe that's just my definitive take on what the vocal arrangement should be. So let me get it right and listen to what I did back then. And so yeah, it's an interesting thing. So some things are slightly different.
Hmm.
Uh, And I definitely didn't like pull from it for every song or whatever, but like, yeah, when I would get into something like Dada, which, you know, a lot of people singled that out as like their favorite from Smile AD, uh, that that one is pretty close to the original vocal arrangement, but it's missing a couple of things because it just didn't need it once it had a lead vocal in there, you know.
I get you. I get you. Will you
Yeah.
do you remember when actual Brian Wilson released Smile? The actual his
Oh
version of
yeah,
Smile. Do you remember that?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, that was crazy. Like that kind of because you remember before that it was like this whole Smile mythology. It's like, oh, it's never gonna come out. And then all of a sudden it was like that. You're like, shit, man.
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
your what did you think of that when it came out? What was your impressions of his version?
Um, yeah, I remember the first one that leaked was Heroes and Villains. It was like played
Yeah.
on a radio show in the UK, I think.
Yeah, it was
And
actually played in Ireland.
oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, I remember it. I was listening to it. It was Tom Dunn. He played
Oh,
that, and
wow.
I think he played Wonderful too as well, or maybe a
Okay.
slip of it. But yeah, it was definitely Heroes and Villains. It
Snippet
was
of it, right,
yeah,
right. I
yeah,
do. I
yeah.
recall that. Yeah, I remember Heroes and Villains was the first leak, right, from that
Mm.
radio show, and I remember thinking, "Wow, Brian sounds pretty good on this."
Yeah,
Uh, you know, that was like actually my first thought because you know, I mean, Brian post, I don't know, name a year, really. You know, it's always been touch and go with his voice, right? You never know what you're gonna get. Uh, and so yeah, to hear him sounding like really energetic and like not like super like crazy, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It was great to hear, really great to hear, and I thought the track sounded pretty faithful to the original.
Mm,
Um, so I think they chose a good first league for sure.
I agree.
Um,
I agree.
yeah, stuff like "Surfs Up." You know, obviously he's never going to be able to sing that the way he did in '66, but um, it was still kind of poignant to hear, you know, 60. Well, how old was he at the time? Like 60, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, to hear like 60-year-old Brian trying to sing Surfs Up was you know, on some notes you even hear like his old voice a little bit.
yeah. There's something there slightly. You're like, whoa, it's something. I remember before that came out, I was like, oh no, man, this is gonna sound like shit. Because before that, remember Getting In Over My Head was released like a few months
Oh
before
yeah,
that.
that's right.
And the
Right.
vocals on that sounded horrendous. And I'm like, oh no. And like
Yeah.
yourself, when I heard Heroes and Villains, I was like, holy shit. I mean, you can
Yep.
tell
Yep.
they've, you know, the guys are kind of singing with them. They're kind of anchoring them. But
There's some
still,
stuff going on there. And I know that I forget where I heard it, but I know that Darian, I think, worked really hard to get good vocals out of Brian for the project. So
yeah.
he was probably coaching him throughout. Uh
He's like the unsung hero of that, isn't he, really?
oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, he's responsible for all the transitions, I think, and he probably, you know, who knows what else. He did he come up with melodies? I'm not sure. He's not credited, but
Do you know that last kind of suite on That's Why God Made the Radio is I think it's some of those later Beach Boys best stuff. You know, that kind of
oh,
from
for
Strange
sure.
Days onwards. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, From There to Back Again is just, I mean, that's like top tier Beach Boys right there.
Dude.
Um,
Yeah,
and it's
really.
really you there's times with that song where you just feel like this is vintage, man. This is vintage Beach Boys right here.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
um, that's got to be the number one for me on that album. Uh,
yeah. And
I remember
Summer's Gone too is good.
Summer's Gone is great. Yeah, Bruce was hyping up. That's why God made the radio like the single,
Ugh.
uh, saying like he was saying like, yeah, you guys got to hear it, so modern. And then I remember hearing it and it was like, oh, okay, modern in like 1992, but you know, uh, I guess, you know, at some point you kind of lose touch with what's really modern. I was thinking, wow, modern, that could be really interesting, you know, like Beach Boys over like some really heavy production, like pop production these days, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, but you know, it's still great. A lot of good harmonies and questionable auto tune, I think.
yeah. Some of that auto
All
tune
over
is
the
like,
project. I remember hearing it and being like, God damn, why am I not doing this stuff for them? You know, I could have had them sounding natural for sure. And I don't mean that in like a you know, one of those like kind of armchair commenters on YouTube. It's like I know for a fact that I could have done it better, you know? and so it annoys me. But you know,
Because
it is what it is.
well, that's what's good about your stuff. I don't know. You're not if you're pitch correct and stuff, you don't really hear it. Because
Oh, cool.
heard other AIs that you can kind of audibly hear it, if you know what I
Mhm.
mean. Like that they're singing the
Yes.
parts in Soviets and then they're just auto-tuning the shit out of it. And you're
Oh,
like,
tune the shit
jeez.
out of it. Yeah. I
Because
mean, vocal tuning is something that I've been doing for a long time now, and Melodyne since I guess when I caught wind of it, I think in 2011, I think that's when I started with Melodyne. But yeah, I mean, it's a regular part of my job. Like I'm just always
okay,
editing vocals, and so for a project like this, you never want to sound like there's auto tune on there because
exactly.
they it's impossible. They wouldn't have had auto tune back then, right? So uh I was very, very conscious about that, even when I did tune stuff. And there were times where I would hear one note and say, you know what, that one note sounds like someone could say that might have autotune on it, even if it didn't. So sometimes you want to, muddy things up a little bit and
Yeah,
sort of roll back. You can kind of do the opposite with the note. If it's like too straight, you can sort of like, push it the other way, and give it
okay.
some wavering. So yeah, it was a lot of that, and just you kind of just know at this point, like my ear is just trained enough to where if it's like overcooked or not.
I get you. So you're are you creating models or are you obviously you have to create a model. Like how long does that actually take? Are you doing that with Solvits?
No, Sovitz is dated at this
Oh
point.
Jesus. See, I don't know this shit, bro. I just know about Solvits. That's it. I'm already gone. I'm already
Wow, man, where you been the past 2 months?
sorry,
You know,
bro. It's
it's
over, bro.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. This stuff changes so freaking fast. Like I
Okay,
was
so
still on the first one, diff SVC for a while, and
I don't even know what
wondering
that is.
that
See,
was the
that's
first iteration of this stuff back in like the early in the year, and that's what everybody was using. And I remember thinking, well, I got all these great samples, and I'm not able to get a great model. And then I realized, oh, people moved on to some other thing, and me, I'm like, uh, I'm I like to change because I know that's you have to change, right, in order to grow.
yeah.
But also, I'm really like stuck in my ways, so it's like one of the reasons why I might not have the Waves J37 because maybe I'm on an older version of Waves. But you know, but yeah. So eventually I figured out, oh, Sovitz, and so I gave it a try, and that was better than Diff SVC. All of a sudden, you were getting like really pretty high quality models, but it was still very. It took a long ass time to like train a model. It took like a week just to
Oh
train it,
right.
and we're not even talking about cutting up the samples. And so you would have to wait a week just to hear, oh, did that model come out good? you know?
Yeah. And would
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
computer freeze or if your computer freezes, is it like fucked like?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that happened like
Oh
a couple
no.
times. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
It does.
no.
It saves like it does save like checkpoints though. So if you're smart and you know how to like
Okay.
retrieve them, then you can sort of start from there. But yeah, dude, so many times like things would happen, and you're doing this through. You could do it locally, but also I use Colab, which is like through Google. So I pay for like the pro membership, so that way I have faster speeds, and
Okay.
it's just better that way. So, but these days now it's RVC and it's like way quicker. Like I trained the Maryland model, I think in like an hour or something. Uh,
Wow, that's cool.
yeah, yeah, dude, things have gotten so much better and way more accurate and better quality too. Like, the Maryland model sounds great. All of these,
Was that on sorry
mm,
to interrupt you. Was that on I Want to Be Around? Was that you?
yes,
Okay, right, right, right. I like
yeah.
that because Taylor, remember Taylor's, well, what's her name? Taylor,
hmm
whatever, was on the Brian Wilson
Taylor
one.
Taylor Swift? No.
Oh no, what's her name? Taylor. Ah, you know who I'm
Taylor.
talking about.
Yeah,
You know the
yeah,
Brian Wilson smile. She sings that I want to be around. She sings
yeah.
that part. What is her name? Anyways, blonde lady.
Taylor
Anyways,
Mills. Taylor
Taylor
Mills.
Mills. That's a woman, man. Good man. I never would have remembered that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, so you used Marilyn on that. Oh, that is very cool.
Yeah, just to because that would have been period accurate, like Brian was using her in the studio for certain things. So, just as a sort of a what if scenario, let's say like he always had that part in his mind, right, to do that little backing thing. He
Hmm.
definitely would have gotten Marilyn to do it versus.
That's
Taylor probably wasn't born yet, so
no,
you know, there's that.
no,
Hey, do you vape?
no. I'm literally so against any smoke. It's not even funny.
That's
My my
amazing, man.
my
I envy
dad,
that.
my dad got lung cancer. He got half his lung removed from
Oh my
smoking.
gosh.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. His
shit.
fucker still smokes like. You're like, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah, bro.
Wow.
Still sneaks the odd one in.
Did
So
he did he beat the cancer then or
yeah, yeah. I
shit?
always say my dad's like Mr. Burns. You know that scene where Mr. Burns and all the diseases are trying to get through that door, and they just all get stuck there. Like that's like my dad. He's like he's had every form of cancer, and it just I
Wow.
like he got COVID, and I said to him, I said,
Oh
you
shit.
killed his body, killed the COVID. Like when I went into his body, COVID was like, oh shit, what the fuck am I? So yeah, like.
That's
Like
that's
that, it's
great.
like that quote in Wayne's World. He cannot be killed by conventional weapons. Like that's my dad.
Dude,
He's got
indestructible.
rock star genes. Like
That's amazing, man. That's
mm,
good for you. That bodes well for you, man.
I don't know. Do I have them? Fucking hell. So no smoke for me, dude. You know,
Okay.
are you on the? Did you move from smoking? Were you like vape? Were you smoking and then vaping, or how was it? Or did
Yeah,
you?
I smoked for probably like 10 or 12 years from when I was like a
Shit.
teenager. And then about 10 years ago, or little more than 10 years ago, I switched over to vape when that became a thing, because it wasn't
Oh,
really it was a new thing at that time. And I remember, well, yeah, towards the end of my smoking days, I remember just every night I went to bed thinking I'm gonna have a heart attack or like something like that because I was up to like 2 packs a day. And
whoa, shit, man, that's a lot.
dude, I was getting into Brian Wilson territory, man.
Wow, you were not only doing the AI, you were just going whole Wilson. Where it is you? You're committing on that old Beach Boy stuff.
And I was pretty overweight at the time too.
Oh
So
no way, bro.
I had that going for me also.
Had you a beard? Come on, had you got a beard?
uh Sadly, I was not able to grow one.
You only had the beard.
I know. I should have bought a wig, like a beard wig.
Yeah, grew the hair out, got in a bathrobe.
Something as bad as the Summer Dreams beards, if you remember that. It's
Oh
the Beach
yeah,
Boys made for TV movie.
Jesus, I have that in DVD, dude.
Oh
Fuck it.
yeah?
Yeah, I unfortunately
That's
didn't
that's
know about it.
dedication, man.
Yeah, I never knew about it. I just bought it. I was like, fuck, what's that? I'm gonna buy it. And then I watched it. I was like, what the fuck is this? Bad, like, because the other
Yeah.
one isn't that bad. I know it's bad, but it's not bad. You know
Hmm.
the one, Summer Nights or Summer. You know the one where like they changed Van Dyke Park's name in this other one. It was like a made-for-TV
Oh,
movie,
the John Stamos one, right?
American Dream or something.
Right,
American.
right, 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 right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
that
was
one
pretty.
was.
That was
Yeah, I liked that. I
yeah, yeah,
liked
yeah.
that. And the
Yeah, that was
original
pretty
in
good.
England, they broadcasted the version because we used to get this thing called Sky. In England, they broadcasted the version. I have it on tape, VHS, where it's got Van Dyke Parks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it like the first airing or something?
Yeah. And then I seen it after that again and it was gone. They had this shitty kind of smile music. And it was, I don't know what it was. It was like it was like a Wish.com version of Smile Music. And then it was just, he wasn't even called Van Dyke Parks. I don't know what he was called.
Well, that was because he complained, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
To be fair, the guy that played, like, it was a bit lame, but I liked that
Yeah.
movie. I liked that movie.
I don't really remember it. All I remember is that they still haven't they haven't really like nailed the Beach Boys in a movie yet. Like they
No,
like I guess Love and Mercy for Brian Wilson is probably the best like
the first
movie.
half. The first half.
First half. What
Yeah.
was the second half? Oh, is that the
The
Landy stuff
80,
in the
the
second half?
80s stuff. I was like, why is John Cusack? He looks nothing like him. It
He
was
does look nothing like
that was
him. Yeah.
weird, man. Like that was weird.
Well,
And
one
just
day they'll be able to just AI everything, and you'll see actual Brian Wilson from the '80s playing.
yeah,
You could just
yeah,
click a button at home, and you'd be like, you know
yeah,
what? I don't think this actor looks like him. I'm just gonna let's click the Brian Wilson button, and yeah, you know.
exactly. Anyways, we were talking about the models, trading the models, and you were saying about that newer version of it. What's it called again?
RVC,
Okay, okay. So
RVC, and
what's
I was like in the beginning when people were asking, how are you doing this? I used to like be very vague and not really tell people what I was doing. But now it's
Okay.
like so widespread that like I don't care anymore. And I'm actually happy to even share the process on these live streams and stuff. Because as someone said, like, it's not the tools you're working with, it's who's working with the tools. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
I
Because
don't
I'm
mind
sure.
go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, man. I'm sure, like yourself, you've heard some like these. Some of the AI that I've heard is absolutely terrible. People just upload this horrendous, like Paul McCartney singing. It sounds nothing like him. I heard
Mm.
some dude singing, and it sounded like Paul McCartney singing in Spanish. It was like a Spanish accent. You know what I mean? Like, so the guy was
Yeah, yeah.
obviously Spanish or Latino, whatever, like that. But it sounded nothing like. There's some of them are just
Yeah.
really bad.
It really it really bums me out when that kind of stuff happens because it's like one of the things that I fear with all this and just music generally is that, if there's a generation of kids that are growing up listening to this stuff, what's their taste going to be? Like if they're okay with like out of tune vocals and bad timing and it's being promoted as something great, and getting a lot of views and stuff like that, that's like it's really bums me out. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
actually one of the reasons why I keep doing this is like I feel a responsibility to like be the person, at least in the Beach Boys and Beatles realm to do it justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. What was your decision to there's two questions, okay?
yeah.
Your one is the first one is you're welcome. Why did you put that after our prayer? And also the key change in Surf's Up. What made you do that? There's two questions.
You're welcome. So I really wanted it to be the very first song of the album, but I knew that people would kick my ass if I didn't include our prayer. So that's really, you know, that would be really sacrilegious to not put our prayer on that album, right?
Yeah, you couldn't
As
do
it
that.
is, people are pissed off about Good Vibrations not being on there. But if you leave off our prayer too, oh my
Yeah,
God, come on.
yeah.
Then you're
Sacrilege,
just
hey.
really tampering with the formula. You're fucking with the
Fucking with
formula, right?
yeah, man. Mike Love, hey.
Mike Love would even be pissed about that.
Yeah.
Uh, but to me, it's just like glaringly obvious that he was doing an intro with that song. You know, it's
Really?
the
Wow.
song is called "You're Welcome." You're welcome to come. You
I
know,
always I always viewed it as you're welcome, it's over. Isn't that
no, he's
weird?
saying
Like,
no. He's like he's introducing you. He's like you're welcome to come. You know,
okay, maybe, yeah.
I
I
mean,
never thought about it like
and the
that.
way it starts too, it like fades in. It doesn't fade out. It fades in.
That's a good point.
So
That's a good point.
Uh, but in the end, I think it works as the second track. It's almost like a second intro.
I get
So you
you.
got because Brian was saying that he didn't want to list prayer as like as an album track. It was like just like um like an intro to the album, no name or anything, right?
Right.
So you could also there's no words in that. It's only ahs and stuff, right?
Hmm.
But "You're Welcome" is the first lyric that you hear of the whole project.
That's true.
Yeah, my
Hmm.
cats are messing with the Bluetooth. Uh,
Don't worry, I have cats too. They're
oh
disaster.
yeah.
Like,
Oh my God,
I
man.
love them to death.
Yeah,
But like I'm sure it's the same for you. Cats love recording equipment. I don't know what it is. They love it like they're
they're
just
like
like
us, you know.
yeah, they're like they're big children. Like anywhere like when I'm in my little studio, my cat I'll just see the door going and it just opens and my cat, Stalin. I know that sounds like a crazy name, but she's got a mustache. She looks like Stalin. And she just
It's a
comes
girl
and
too. Oh, wow.
I know, I know. I thought it was a male when she came first. I was like, holy shit. I was like, there's a fucking cat outside with a mustache. I mean, dude, it's a proper Stalin mustache. And like, I remember she went missing before, and someone I'd put up, locally, whatever. And someone came up to me in the shop and they go, your cat Hitler's missing. I was like, it's actually Stalin, not Hitler. It's the other awful dictator in the world. It's an awful name, I know, but hey,
Yeah.
she's Stalin. She's Stalin. What's your cat's names?
I went really simple and I just named them Buddy and Baby. It's brother and sister.
Oh, that's
Uh,
sweet.
yeah. Well, what it was like I fostered them for 2 weeks. I don't know why.
Ah, cool.
I thought, okay, maybe it's time that I take some responsibility for something other than myself. Stop being so freaking selfish. So Uh, so I got these two kittens. I was gonna do a dog, but then I'm like, nah, I can't handle a dog. It's too much work. I need some flexibility. You know, cats are a little more independent and all that.
Yeah.
So I did, yeah. So I fostered these two kittens that they didn't know how to use the freaking litter box, man. And I remember the first day they were stepping in their poop and then
Oh
just like
no.
cracking it all over my apartment. I'm like, my whole couch was covered in
Lovely.
it.
Love.
Yeah, I was like instinctively calling the boy Buddy and the girl Baby, you know. So I was like, okay, that's just gonna be their names.
Oh,
And
that's sweet.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you're
they're
lucky
good
that they can
cats.
use the cat litter because my cats, they scrape on my window every night, and I let them in, and then they scrape to get back out. So they actually will not use the litter. So there's,
Oh wow.
yeah, I mean, I've done that to them. Yeah, I can
So
only
they're
blame
like
myself.
indoor outdoor cats?
Yeah, they're pretty much, yeah, because we live in a little village, so they just chill around. Sometimes they'll bring back mice to me, which is lovely. You'll get this little
That's
scrape, and it's like
really
a,
nice of them.
yeah. I'm like, cool, thanks for that lovely gift. And they just pop it at your dead mouse and like, look what I gave you. I'm like, oh, thanks, cheers. I'll just go bury this my mouse, crying in the
Man,
rain, burying a mouse. But yeah, they're
cats
sweet.
are they're so sweet, man. They're
They
just
are, man.
they're very innocent, you know.
Yeah,
You know.
they're also kind of lovely, but pricks at the same time because they're kind of like, like a dog will give you unconditional love, and a cat's like, I don't really want to see you now, and they'll just walk away from you. Whereas like dogs are just like always give you love, and cats are like, whatever.
Totally. And you can even see it in their expression, like, nah, yeah, I'm not fucking with you. Yeah.
Exactly. They're like, yeah, don't rub me, just don't rub
Yeah.
me. The
Yeah.
disdain
Yeah.
they give you, but they're lovely. They're lovely. Back to Brian Wilson and Smile. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the
We
other.
could save that for another one. We could
Yeah,
do
that's
like
the
a
cat podcast that
cat
we're
episode. Yeah.
weekly cat podcast that we're doing. Uh, so where was I was talking about? We were talking about
You're
what goes
welcome.
on.
Oh, and you
Oh,
asked
you're
about
what?
the
Oh,
key change in Surf's
yes,
Up.
yes, yes. Sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that's actually based on Brian's later 67 piano rendition of the song, which they found. I guess it might have been 10 years ago now, right? Whenever they put out the 67 set,
Yeah, yeah, that
that
big
was
box set.
that was the crown jewel of the set. They found a version of Brian playing Surfs Up on his Wild Honey piano, you know, with the detuned piano. Amazing. You know, and he plays it a key lower. But then in that part, the same part where I modulated, he modulates. And that was like a big whoa, you know?
Yeah.
Uh
Jeez, I totally forgot about
so when I was doing the song for Smile, you know, of course it's the conventional way to just, keep it as is, keep it as the demo, right?
that.
However, he did record a part two. We just never heard it. You know, maybe the tape is gone. It's missing at least. They recorded a part two, and I think they even did vocals as well.
Mm.
Uh, but that was in January '67, so that's like maybe a month after he did the demo version.
Yeah.
Uh, so my theory is, maybe he already had it in his mind to do a modulation there. It's
Wow.
possible, right? I
Yeah.
mean, a month had passed. Um, we don't know what he recorded for part two. We do know that he had a lot of musicians at the session, like strings and horns and stuff like that. So that definitely played into trying to make that last section pretty big. Uh, but yeah, the modulation was just I wasn't gonna do it at first, but I had the idea early on, but I thought, you know what, the the pitch shifting, it's a full step up, right? So I thought,
Right.
pitch shifting is definitely gonna mess up Brian's voice. But
Yeah.
when I did it, I was shocked. Dude, it sounded exactly the same. I couldn't
Wow.
hear any artifacts.
Wow.
So artifacts, not artifacts. Uh yeah, so I just once I heard that Brian's voice was still sounding like Brian's voice, I went, okay, let's fucking go all the way with this. Uh
That's cool,
and
man.
yeah, and some of the other vocals are actually pitch shifted as well, but
Okay.
a lot of it is newly recorded for that key.
So
But
you obviously have to sing all these vocals in and then use the AI
mm,
to kind of over them. How long do you spend doing them? I'm sure some of them are quite difficult.
um no, I'd say that's like the easiest part of the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, because yeah, especially for Smile, where it was like all, deep mixed and doing a lot of production stuff. And yeah, that became like the biggest focus, getting the mixes right, getting the sound right, because I mean, you know how delicate it is to mix something. It's
Yeah,
1 decibel can change everything.
exactly.
So um, you know, yeah, that became the focal point of the project, like getting the mixes right. And some songs don't even have AI vocals. Like, well, of course, Our Prayer and You're Welcome don't have AI vocals, but
Yeah.
Vegetables is completely, original vocals. There was nothing for me to do there. Uh, but like, yeah, stuff like let me see, so Surfs Up, there were like backgrounds and stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
I love to say I love Dada. I love to say Dada.
Yeah, that had a lot of vocals, but I was going off the old like Smile AD vocal arrangement, so I didn't
Uh-huh.
have to think too much about it. It
Okay.
takes time. I think you know what it is. Like I get lost in it, and I don't realize how much time goes goes by. You know, I kind of just like start and I don't stop until it's done, and so it might take a couple hours or whatever to do like Dada, for instance.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a bit you have to get into the zone because as you're recording the stuff, like you have to run it through the AI filter, right?
I get you. Yeah.
So, or you can do it afterwards. You can record everything first and then run everything. You're talking about like hundreds of little wave files that you got to run through and then place back in the session in time. It's a lot of work, but once you get into a flow, you kind of just do it, and yeah. So Dada, I probably got most of the vocals done in one shot. Um, and then a lot of it afterwards was playing with the leads, who was going to sing the lead. So I have a Carl lead for that one. Um, but the Owl lead it was just way better. So I went with that.
That's class, man. Like,
Mm.
like, do you? So, I'm kind of ignorant to like the the AI stuff with music. I
Mm.
know certain things, but I'm quite, I know the programs and stuff. Well, obviously, I don't know all of them.
Mm.
I was talking about fucking Soviets, and that's fucking gone now. But like, so all your programs that you have or your models, you
Mm.
can just pop them out anytime and just use them for anything?
Pretty much, yeah. Like I'm still using Google Colab, so you have to like sort of install the code through
Okay.
Colab. But I do have like a window open always. So at any given time, I can install it and load up a model. It will take like maybe 5 minutes or something like that to load to get the whole process running. And then once you get the process running, you can pretty easily load other models into it as well.
Oh, right.
So yeah, so many times I would have like all the Beach Boys models loaded up, and then I can easily just switch from Mike to Brian to whomever, and then you basically like drag and drop a wave file that you just recorded or whatever, and then click convert, and you got Mike or Brian singing your vocal.
That's cool. How mad was that the first time you did it? Like you were
Oh my
just
God.
like, were you
Well,
like,
first of all,
whoa,
I did this shit before anybody, like in terms of the Beach Boys.
okay.
So um to hear Brian singing stuff that he never sang, it was stressful for me. Not gonna lie. No, like seriously, like I had a lot of anxiety over it because
Really?
yeah, because I this stuff was really new. There was only like one YouTube video out there that I found that had that's how I learned of it. It was like Michael Jackson singing I Feel It Coming by The Weeknd.
Oh my God,
And
what was that like?
it was incredible. It was sounded really good, and I was like, how the hell did they do that? And that's why I got curious about it. And yeah, so once I figured it, dude, it took me a long time to like set up my computer to be able to process
Right.
because I was doing it locally at the time. That was the only way to do it at the time. Uh, it was really I really got into a weird place like uh and when I started processing stuff and hearing, what it sounded like, it was overwhelming to have to know that I was the only one that had like, a clip of Brian singing Match Point of Your Love in 1972. you know, and stuff like that. It was
Yeah.
really I felt it was a strange time, I'm not gonna lie. Like it was weird. And
Yeah.
but then once I started putting it out, you know, I saw people were liking it. Uh, so, but not everybody. You know, there's still like to this day, like people are really really brutal about this stuff. Like
I've
I
seen some
someone on
comments.
the
I've
I
seen
was
some comments. Don't worry.
yep yep. I used to post on the Smiley Smile message board,
Bad idea.
and well, yeah. Now you know what happened was I was doing that stuff, and this one particular person just kept posting. It was literally getting to the point of like personal insults.
Really?
Yeah, and it was really stressing me. My nerves were already fried. I wasn't getting much sleep.
Yeah.
Uh, and I thought like, what kind of fucking person, you know, is going off like this, you know? And
Sorry about that. I have to apologize for all those comments I made.
Paul, come on, man. I thought we were friends.
Sorry, man. That's how I got you on the podcast.
Oh, that's messed up.
Sorry,
Uh,
go on.
won't do it again. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
Uh, you know, and to this day, that person is still rattling off, and it's just like,
That's,
oh my god. So I don't post there anymore, actually, because of that. You know,
that's
it's like, why
sad.
am I gonna do that when, especially when, dude, everybody on Reddit loves it. Everybody on most people on YouTube are really digging it. It's more, I guess, some of these longtime fans that they just want something to bitch about. It seems, you know.
I think it's
Uh,
older people too. Like I
it's
posted it. I
mostly
remember
older people.
I posted your stuff to Steve Hoffman. I was like, dude, you got to check out this stuff. And all
Mm.
these old dudes, vinyl dudes, are like, oh, it's not the fucker. And you're like, dude, come on. I think
Of
people,
course, it's not the Beach Boys, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
But like they kind of, when someone said, oh, it sounds nothing like it, I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You know
right,
what
right.
I
It sounds
mean?
nothing. That's the one that gets me. How do you figure it sounds nothing like them?
Yeah,
You know,
that's the weird one. You're like, come on, man.
even to this day, when the models are like freaking perfect, you know, it's like there's still people out there that are trying to say it doesn't sound like them. It's like, come
Yeah,
on, man. You know,
yeah.
even
You know,
even the original, like the initial ones, even though there was a lot of artifacts and you know they were a bit warbly and stuff, like it still sounded like them. You know, uh, so yeah, I don't at this point though. I've first of all, my sleep is a little bit better these days, which helps. You know, if I was to give anybody advice, it wouldn't be about AI. It would be about health. Like, guys, get your sleep. You know,
but
it's
you know what?
important.
You know what? I would say people like McCartney and people that would hear that would actually really like it. I don't think they would go, oh, you know.
McCartney's commented on it a few times, and he did specifically call out one of my AI
No
creations.
way.
Yeah, and you know, it was such a bummer because like he called out like the very first thing that I did with him, which was God Only Knows with him singing. And a lot of people mentioned to me, "Hey, the accent sounds a little off." And
Okay.
you know, at the time I did this cover. It was the first time that I messed with Paul, a Paul model, and um I think I was just so caught up in the fact that the tone really sounded like him.
I
And
get
so
you.
I blasted through the song. I didn't really spend that much time on it, and I just uploaded it when it was done. And yeah, I guess he does sort of have an American accent, which he kind of does when he sings, but I could see why a lot of people think that, you know, it doesn't really sound 100% like him. Anyways, he commented on this like recently, even though I did this thing a long time ago. Uh and yeah, he's like, "Well, I know it's not me, you know." And and you know, it's like, dude, come on, man, check out New. How about New? How about Return to Pepperland? Check out any of my other shit, you know? And I'd be hard pressed to hear him not think that it sounds like him.
He's
But
definitely heard new. He's definitely heard new, I reckon.
and I don't know. How about I don't know, you know?
Actually,
Uh
I don't know was the one that I heard first that I was like, "Oh my God,
mm,
that is class." Because that's a great song anyways.
it's such a good song. And I always, even before the AI shit, I remember in like 2018 when it came out, uh I could envision how he would have sang it in like the Wings era, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so you use a 70s model.
It wasn't a 70s model. It's actually based on his voice from like it was many decades.
Okay.
So yeah, kind of it was yeah, it was a big, really, really impressive model. But yeah, so but I think that just the way like dogs at my door. You know how he like he
Yeah.
doesn't hold it out in the original, right? but you
Yeah,
can imagine like back in the 70s, he would have held that note out.
for sure.
So,
For sure.
yeah, things like that, like little intricacies where, yeah, I just always noticed that, like from when he dropped that in 2018. But his voice sounds like particularly affected on that one. I thought that Come On to Me, the other single from that album, he sounded great. He sounded like
Yeah.
Lady Madonna Paul on that one, you know?
Yeah. Remember his worst song? I think one of his worst songs ever is For You. Do you know that song? I was like, bro, come on. Like that has to, like that theory that Paul McCartney died. And
Mm,
like that's the only evidence that actually might exist, that song For You, that you could go, actually, maybe he did because that song
maybe
is
he
so
did.
fucking bad.
Well, you know the thing with Paul, and I really respect it about him. He's always trying to like stay current, even now. Like,
Yeah.
uh, so that's an example of him. He got with Ryan Tedder. Ryan Tedder produced that and probably wrote it, or at
Ooh,
least co-wrote it.
ooh,
Uh,
bad one.
and yeah, it's just, I did actually before I realized that all the McCartney solo stuff was getting pulled from YouTube, I did do like a de-aged version of that one too.
Oh, For
Um,
You.
yeah, yeah, and he sounds a young Paul definitely sounds better on it than older Paul, but um, yeah, I got a bunch of like Egypt Station stuff that I did. I don't. Are you familiar with the album? Do you know the
Yeah,
album
yeah,
well?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So the
It's a good
last
album, actually.
really good album. I especially like the song "Naked," which is
Yeah,
that's like super Beatley, right?
yeah.
Uh, I got a version of that with young Paul singing, but I just haven't uploaded any of that stuff because
They get yanked, is it?
they get yanked, man. It's like, what's the point, And then I just get strikes on my channel, which means I'm more likely to lose the channel completely. Uh,
Right, right.
right now I'm working on actually it's my third Dae Lims channel, but uh, currently it's one of two that I have operational. The first one had 8,000 subscribers because the early stuff was getting a lot of publicity. New, I don't know, uh, Grow Old with Me, especially.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, Grow Old and Me's class, man. Great
oh,
song.
thanks, dude. Yeah, that I actually just made that video public again on that channel because
Oh,
it,
cool.
it still exists. Yeah, I private stuff so that I don't get copyright strikes because once
Okay.
you get three strikes, right? And then you're out. They cancel, they just delete your channel. So
Wow.
once I'm at that 2 out of 3 mark, then I just pull everything and I just wait for the strikes to expire. It takes 3 months. So
Okay.
I had gotten to a point with that first channel with the 8,000 subscribers that I was able to post again because I only had one copyright strike. So I planned on putting out Smile AI on that channel, which I figured, would get more reach with 8,000 subscribers.
Hmm.
The one that I'm currently on is it's inching towards 2,000 now, but still, a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I attempted to upload Smile AI on that channel, but they had it blocked like before I could even upload it. So um, I think it's just like the copyright censor sort of like it detects the songs and then it says, oh, the owner has decided not to let you upload it, or it's like blocked worldwide or something like that,
It's weirdly annoying because you're like publicizing them. It's not like you're making cash off this because they can get royalties off that actual if it's played. It's kind of I
Absolutely.
find bizarre. If you hear a weird noise, that's my cat. She's decided to get on top of me. She's purring, so it's not me making some weird. I'm not going into the microphone like a freak. Like that guy was weird. He was purring the whole podcast. But
I
yeah,
thought
so
it was like some like podcast sound effect that you have.
so yeah, I just do it to kind of calm the guests, in the background. But yeah, yeah, I don't get like why they kind of. I know the
It's
Eagles are mad for doing it, and anything with
oh yeah.
UMI, Universal are total bastards. Like,
Yeah, I don't know who makes those calls and why, but I suspect they're a bit more tough with the AI thing because they don't know what to do with it yet. But
yeah,
I think
yeah,
if it were up to me, I would allow those AI covers, maybe selectively delete some, the really bad ones.
yeah, yeah, the shit ones. Like,
If it was me back there, I'd be like, oh, this one sucks, delete. Uh,
I would,
but
what I'd love, and I was because probably I was watching it the other day, and I love it. I'd love
mm.
to hear Brian Wilson model or any of the Beach Boys model doing Black Sheep by Dewey Cox. You know that song?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
that's a classic.
yeah, Van Dyke wrote that. Like, so we just
Oh,
fucking,
did he really?
yeah, yeah, Van Dyke wrote that
Van
song.
Dyke Parks wrote that for the movie?
I asked him about it. I messaged him a few months ago, and I was listening. I was like, dude, I just remembered. It's like something came up somewhere, and I emailed him, and we're talking about, it, and he was laughing about it. He was like, oh yeah. So
Did he
yeah,
say like he wrote it for like specifically like in the Smile style? Like,
yeah. So they basically asked him to write it in this style of 67, that kind of era of Smile. So it's
wow.
purposely wrote like that. Now
Oh, okay.
I know another guy wrote bits with him, but I'm not too sure how much he wrote. But that whole it sounds very like chordal structures of what Van Dyke, like even the arrangements are very Van Dyke, the chords that so I don't know how much I don't know, did the other guy that wrote, did he write words or stuff like that? I'm not too sure, but it's very
Mm,
Van Dyke Parks. So
yeah. So
it'd be even cooler, like Brian was singing that.
yeah, I'll have to listen to it again. I didn't know that Van
Great
Dyke wrote
song.
that. That gives me a little more like ammunition to maybe want to consider it at least. You know,
That would be
I'm
brilliant.
pretty bad with like requests. Like I'm
I know, sorry man. I'm sure
no
people are
no
like,
no. It's a
can you do this song, Bohemian Rhapsody
yeah.
with Al
Or they
Jardine?
don't even say can you do it. They say do it.
Oh, right. At least I asked politely, you know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
were like, no, you didn't even ask. You were just like, you know what would be cool to do? Like
That's true.
that's a nice way of putting it. But like, yeah,
That's true.
you do get a lot of requests because I guess people think I could just like churn them out like it's nothing, and that I don't have a life. You know?
You know, when I was watching the live stream you were doing the other day, some guy, I don't know, was it the first one? I watched or maybe the first one, and some guy goes, "Are you going to do a remaster of Smile?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Just put
Like
it
I just
out."
dropped it 2 days ago, bro. Like, you want me to remaster it already? Like, what the fuck?
Has there been a lot of people who actually have listened to that and actually never heard Smile? Have you got any messages
Oh my
about people?
God. Yeah. Actually,
Really?
someone came into the chat room and
Yeah.
they were like, this is the first Beach Boys thing I ever heard, and I really love it. Uh
No
like
way.
no, I was like that was the one time I think I was like, you know what? Maybe there's something wrong with this whole AI thing because maybe I am tampering with something bigger than myself or bigger than what I should be tampering with because uh and I quickly like told the kid like, yo, listen, don't know. Go back and listen to the Smile session so you know what's real and what's not real, and
Yeah.
and then go listen to Pet Sounds and then go listen to the earlier stuff. Get out
Yeah.
of here, bud. Buddy's
But
just
I
like,
think
what?
I think it gets people, like when you did I Don't Know Why. I remember I went back and listened to Egypt Station again. So I think it's
Oh
just kind of
wow,
I think it only adds that people would hear that and go, "Oh, gotta check out." Like that. That's going back to the whole thing about why you and I would block these things. It's fucking stupid. You're just gonna get more people into it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so
totally. It's just promotion, really.
exactly. Free
And but
promotion.
then again, I so yeah, it seems like it almost seems like they specifically target my videos, and
Right.
well, the only thing I can come up with is that they're too realistic, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. And
um,
plus they're gonna start doing that shit themselves. They're gonna you can once record labels are gonna find a way to try and make money from this. It's
I
gonna
think so. Yeah,
happen.
yeah. They'll probably be like, you know, I hope it's soon, and I hope that they hit me up because
Exactly.
no one knows these guys better than I do, and you know, I don't know. It would be disappointing if like I find out that like they got someone else doing, you know, like the official Beatles AI or Beach Boys AI and stuff like that. You know,
Well, they
uh,
will eventually hire someone as AI whatever, and that
mm,
could be you. You just
it
gotta get in there,
sh-
bro.
it should be. Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, I should. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. You know, I did reach out to the Beach Boys management as well as Brian Wilson's management, and no one has returned my emails. So, uh,
That's strange. I thought they would.
you know, Uh, maybe at some point, you know, when maybe it's just not in their interest right now, but I just hope that when they do get interested in it, that they consider me, you know, because I'm their guy. You know, I who else is gonna do it like I do? I don't know. I don't mean that in like a braggadocious way. It's just like I mean I you know, I've sort of uh I've got all the elements needed for something like this, right? You know, being a producer and songwriter as my profession, along with the mixing and then understanding their catalogs like that. Um, I don't
Yeah,
know. I
you're
mean,
into the music, like you're not like
I'm
just
really,
simply
really into the music, really into the history of the music and the
yeah.
band. And listen, I would love to be able to tell you, you know what, it's either me or this other guy. But as far as I know, there is no other guy, you know.
Have you
Um,
heard anyone else doing like not outside the Beach Boys that's doing
mm.
stuff that would be kind of what would you reckon on par with what you're doing?
I mean, I've heard good AI stuff, but I don't think anybody's going as far as I am in terms of re-recording everything, you know.
Right, I
Um,
get you.
I'm pretty sure almost everybody's just taking a previously existing vocal and running it through the AI, voice changer thing. And then, but there are people out there that are doing what I do, but it's just I haven't heard anything that's on the same level, you know. And I say that as someone, and it sounds probably so like braggadocious or whatever the case, but like my profession, which I'm trying to like kind of keep on the DL with the whole Dae Lims thing. Like I'm someone that receives demos regularly, so I'm constantly judging music, and
Okay.
you know, uh, so I kind of know I'm in a position where I can judge pretty accurately what's good and what's not.
Okay. Okay, I
Uh,
get you.
so
Why
I
why did you call it Dae Lims? Is there any reason for that?
so it's actually Smile AD backwards.
Oh God, I thought it was to do with llamas. I don't know
You know
why.
what?
I
It
th
kind of sounded like that in a way. Like it sounded actually, it's almost Korean. Like there's like a Dae Lim out there. Yeah, yeah. Buddy, stop rubbing my legs, man. My cat is just like, dude, you're spending too much time on this podcast.
Man, am I taking up too much of your time? Sorry about that.
No, 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 not at all, man. I'm really enjoying this actually.
Okay, good,
No, it's
good.
just my cat's just being annoying. But
Don't worry, mine's here just sitting on me purring like a lunatic. Uh,
yeah. But
no, so the Dae Lim, sorry, we went back to the
yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it just I had initially named the channel Smile AD, and then I thought, well, that's I don't know, and I reversed it, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. It looks I don't know, like it looks like a yeah like Dalai Lama or like
Yeah, that's
like
what I thought,
like
llamas.
yeah, it looks like mystical and spiritual and all that, and so yeah, so I just went with it, and I don't know how I came up with the brown screen. I think dude, I couldn't even tell you where that came from. I downloaded like a background in the
A
beige
brown
color.
background.
Yeah, yeah. And because I didn't know what to put as like the video for this stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's always a weird thing. Have you actually have you done I know more to do with AI with videos because
okay,
I did like for a last single I did like a green screen myself and then did like mad fucking AI with the thing, like kind of integrate.
really?
Yeah, yeah. For a song called I'll send it to you called Doctor in the Sky. It's like a fucking psychedelic kind of pop song. So because the I was talking to somebody about this, because the AI is so kind of mental, it's almost like psychedelic because it's not perfect. You know what I mean? Like you feed it
Mhm.
something and it comes out some crazy. Like I think
Yes.
it's like it's weird. It's like taking magic mushrooms. Some of this AI stuff that they put through,
What
like it's
what programs have you used?
what was I using for that? I was using a thing called Night Cafe, which is a kind of not a very unknown one. And then for the new stuff that I'm using, I'm going using Runaway and Kyber. Kyber is fucking
Kyber.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know Kyber.
Kyber's class. And it's kind of like,
Hmm.
that thing of like, I'm sure it's like the way you're using AI, as in
Mm.
you use it as a tool, you're not using it as a whole being of the whole thing. And
Right.
I think when you use it like that, I think people have a misconception of like everything you've done is just AI and you've put it into a program and then it shoots it out like, and it's not like that at all. You have to do a lot of work with it too.
You have to do a lot of work. Yeah, the trailers that I did for Smile AI are all based on stuff that I did with like Kyber and
I was gonna ask about
uh,
that.
what's the other one? Oh yeah,
Runway.
Runway. Yeah, 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 exactly. Wait.
And you know what's weird? Like the Runway and Kyber, they have actually like their own look of it, AI. You know what I mean? Like Kyber has a different look to Runway has a look, if you get what I mean. Like
Totally. Yeah, they have their own like algorithms and yeah. Um some of the stuff that I got from Runway, it looks I was trying to get like Brian singing Wonderful and all this, so I was messing with like deep fake
I get you.
and I was trying to like get some good B-roll from like Kyber and Runway. Uh yeah, like for like a split second like it actually still looks like Brian, you
I
know?
get you.
But then
Yeah.
it like starts morphing him into like some
Some of it is
crazy looking
disturbing.
monster type of thing.
Yeah, some of what you
You
can
know.
I remember I put in a program was like something about Hulk Hogan, and it made it Hulk Hogan into this disturbing like tree. Oh man, it was like, oh, every time I look at it, I was like, that would haunt your nightmares for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like it was that like creepy.
Oh yeah.
It was bizarre. Like so,
Yeah,
you can just
and it's
imagine.
it kind of realistic in a way. So it's yeah,
Yeah,
it's like super
that's even more scary.
super creepy.
Have you ever thought about doing like a video for any of the stuff you're doing, like a full video
Mm,
for any of the stuff?
nah, I think it's nah. I did consider it while I was doing the trailers and when I was first messing with the AI video stuff. Uh, but then I quickly realized that I wouldn't be able to get enough like realistic footage of them singing. I mean,
I get you.
I think one day, yeah, it might be worth revisiting it once the technology is a little better.
Yeah.
Uh, because I think if you can keep the person looking like the person, and I did try to, you know what I did? Was it? Yeah, so deepfake and also I forget what the program is called, but you know where you can like have someone lip sync something, right? Just to take a
Oh,
picture.
I know that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is an online thing you can use like that.
Yeah, I was using some code for that, and and then what I would do is like sometimes it would mess up the face a bit and make the teeth look really weird and stuff. So I would run it through a deep fake of like the original image, and then all of a sudden it looked a lot better.
Ah,
Uh,
yeah.
so I feel like if they can somehow combine all of these things to like keep the person looking like get the really cool video AI of like Kyber or Runway, plus like the lip sync thing, plus the deep fake to keep them looking similar, like everything at once, then it might be worth trying to look at like doing a real music video,
Well,
you know?
there's a great program when because someone when like the AI it shoots it out to you, it's not like great quality. So there's a program called Topaz. And it's an AI
Oh
program.
yeah, dope
Yeah,
Topaz. Right.
yeah. I used that to upscale the AI with AI, and it would upscale it into 4K. And especially
Mm.
when you're using kind of people, it's kind of shit. But when you're using ow, sorry, my cat's grabbing me. When you're when you're using like images, it's quite cool. It actually does some quite or like psychedelic kind of shit. It's when
Yeah.
you're using people that can kind of flat them out. I remember I did something with John Lithgow from Third Rock from the Sun. It looked mental. It was just too like
Mm.
mad. But for for this stuff. But it's crazy, man. Like how fast that shit's growing. Like
I feel
it's
like 2023 has really been a breakout year for AI media
yeah,
wise.
yeah, it's crazy.
It
It's
wasn't even really on my radar until now, you know, like this year.
really I thought you were
Yeah.
probably super like tech savvy or something like that to be able to use all
No,
those.
not at all, man. Like I'm a songwriter, producer, and um I guess I'm a bit nerdy with what I do. You know, I do like to look at the details and get things. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but like yeah, tech wise, I'm not nah, I don't know code. I don't know how to I'm really not that good at like programming synths and stuff like that. You know, what I
Yeah.
am good at, I think my specialty is my ear, you know.
Yeah.
And so and trying to accomplish, you know, taking the steps to get to where I want to go. Uh, so yeah, when the vocal AI thing came around, it was actually pretty difficult to like get it going for me.
Right.
I struggled for like a week, like trying to figure it out, but I was so
Gotcha.
obsessed with it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I get really obsessed with shit. So yeah, I was really obsessed with it, and I wouldn't stop until I figured it out. And
Okay.
yeah.
That's
We
I
should call
thought
this podcast two guys that keep getting interrupted by their cats.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you could code. I thought, oh, this guy definitely can code because
No,
the
yeah,
model
and
sounds
you
so
know,
good.
yeah, people initially were thinking that I did get hit up by some other people as well, like owners of companies and different labels and stuff. And yeah, none of them could like figure out what I was doing, and they thought that I was like making the software myself and stuff. But uh, yeah, no, it's and at this point, anybody could really do it. They've made it really user friendly. It still requires a little bit of watching tutorials and stuff like that. But in the beginning, it was a different story. You really did sort of need to at least manually copy some code and enter it in, and
Yeah.
uh yeah. But no, I'm just like a music guy. I don't know code. If music didn't pay my bills, I'd probably be lost.
You're like a full-time songwriter.
Hmm.
That is quality, dude.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Living the
Uh
dream.
it's well, yeah, but it took a long time to get there. It took a long time to get there. And I did consider sort of like switching paths at one point
Hmm.
and getting into my dad does IT. So
Oh,
I thought maybe I don't know if this music thing doesn't work out, maybe I'll go to IT or something. But over the last few years, finally something worked out. So
that's
uh
class, man. That's class.
yeah,
Cause,
yeah,
cause it's hard, man. It's fucking hard. I'm sure, like yourself,
really hard.
the
Yeah.
the the the, the meetings with record labels, and then you think,
Hmm.
like you meet these like record labels, and they're like, you'd swear you were their second coming of Jesus, and then a week later, like, nah. We're like, what? Look all that shit you said to me. They're like, nah, but it's like it can be very disheartening.
All
Like,
right, on to the next.
exactly, like, because there's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many bullshitters involved that you're like, have they been cool with me or they been, you don't know. So to be able to
yeah,
get to that point to do it is fucking incredible.
yeah, and yeah. There's oh man, I went through so much of that stuff. Like people telling me, "Oh, you made the album, congratulations!" And it literally would have been a life changing thing. And then you look at the album and your song isn't on there.
Oh
Uh,
shit.
stuff like that. Yeah. Oh my God, man, I went through so much. There's a lot of BS out there, but
Yeah. So have
and it
you
actually it turned me to after dealing with that, I sort of just started like doing my own thing, putting out my own music on YouTube,
Yeah.
and then coincidentally, that's sort of where like my actual career picked up because like then once they saw I was getting like some love on YouTube, then uh, that's when like companies reached out and wanted me to work with them with their artists and stuff like that
Oh
to write
wow.
songs in
That
that
is
and to write like
class.
similar songs. Yeah, and then since then, like I've started my own publishing company, so I have like
Wow.
writers signed to me, and
Wow.
so yeah, I'm like managing writers, doing my own. I'm still an active producer, songwriter, and
Brilliant.
but first and foremost, Beach Boys fan mixer.
So do you work on your own like albums and stuff like that as well as writing for other people?
I used to, but not anymore. Kind of lost the desire to be like in the spotlight. You know what I mean? Uh, I felt like I no longer had anything like super artistic to say. Um, I think maybe I don't know. Once you're like into your 30s a bit, like the same things that motivate you in your 20s kind of go away a bit. So well, for me at least. So yeah, that made me turn completely into just like I just want to be behind the scenes and uh try to like exploit my talent.
I get you. I
Yeah.
get you. Yeah, because it's kind of like I always think, I'm reading a book on McCartney at the moment, and just some of the
Mhm.
stories of like the fans, you're like, why would you ever want to be that big? Like that would just be I'm not saying that any like it's easy to get that, but just
Right.
to get to that point is ridiculously hard. And then to get it, and you're like, no matter where you go in the world, someone's going to ask you for a picture. That must be just nauseating.
Oh
Like,
my God.
just
Yeah.
can you
Yeah. You
imagine,
can never get any privacy.
dude.
I
Yeah,
mean, he seems to be handling it really well. Like he seems like so down to earth and stuff, but um I think he's definitely like he's like an exception to the rule, I would say, because uh yeah, look what it did to Brian, like he couldn't handle being so scrutinized in the public and um you know, yeah, for me personally, yeah, I would oh my God, man. I'd just be a walking panic attack.
Yeah,
you
it'd be
know.
just a bit crazy, wouldn't it? It's the weird thing of like people knowing who you are, and you're like, hey, you're like, hello, and they just assume they know you, and they're like, can I take a picture of you? And it's like, okay, that'd just be weird. Just be like,
Super weird. Yeah, yeah.
you'd
And yeah,
obviously
that's
do it, but it'd just be strange. Like it's just, and then you don't want to be a prick and let that person down because you don't want someone going, that asshole wouldn't take a picture with me. So it's all these different things all mixed into each other. It just has to be difficult. Like,
you've really got to have a good head on your shoulders to be able to handle that
yeah,
constantly, you know?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you always have to be turned on, basically. And I know for me, I'm like, I'm only turned on about 10% of the time. So I saved it all for this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So a few more questions and I'll let you go. Jeez, we're nearly talking for 2 hours, man.
Oh yeah, sure, man.
How did you get into the Beach Boys? Was there any, do you remember anything you saw when you got into the Beach Boys, or was there any
I was
moment?
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, I was totally like into the Beatles at first.
Ah,
Uh
okay.
and then I think when I was around 13, I discovered I got my hands on Beach Boys Made in USA, I think it was called.
Yeah.
It was like a, greatest hits
I
compilation.
know that one with the kind of, it's got the United States writing in USA on the cover, doesn't it? It's kind of like white. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Anyways,
I
go
think
on.
so. Yeah. Or is that Born in the USA? No,
That's
I don't
Springsteen.
know.
That's an AI
Yeah.
version. It's like holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
Anyways, sorry, go on.
but the song "Don't Worry, Baby" caught me. That was the one.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I listened to the whole CD and I was like, wow, all this shit is good. And
Okay.
then I remember getting the Good Vibrations box set not too long after, and I was just totally in, all the
Yeah.
different eras, and I understood what I was listening to, and so I knew that the Smile stuff was unreleased, and and I just really felt it all, like, I could really get into Brian Wilson,
Mm.
and at that time I was it's funny, like when you're like 13 and you're looking at these 22-year-olds, like they're like these older gods and stuff, but now it's like, wait, they were only 22 when they did that shit. What the
No,
fuck? How is that possible?
crazy,
You know?
isn't it? Crazy. Especially when you're that
Yeah.
young, you can kind of feel a weird affinity to that music and to those, you're kind of when you're writing music as well and playing music and
Mm.
the Beach Boys. It's like another kind of world. I always view that with like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. It's like another kind of, it's like a little world within their own world, like dioramas or something like that. And
Yes.
you go into this whole like world and you're like, oh my God, this smile thing. Like, what the fuck is this smile thing? It was crazy. Like the
Right.
first time I heard the Beach Boys, I was sitting like, I mean, consciously heard the Beach Boys. I'm sure I heard them on like Surfing USA, when you're younger growing up, but you don't take that much heed of it. It's just like
Hmm.
in the background. But there was a TV show on Sunday mornings, and it was like Dave Fanning, and he played this song. He played "I Just Wasn't Made for These Times," and he was explaining this guy, and he was staying at home, and the band went out, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like this guy, the producer? Or what the fuck? I thought it was like the Monkeys. Like the Monkeys kind of were like that. And then
Yeah.
you were like, I heard the Turbine and all this shit, and I was like, man, what is this? I gotta get into this. And then I got Pet Sounds. It's like fucking you know, total blew my
Amazing.
mind. And then just go
Yeah.
down that like a rabbit hole. I'm sure, like you
Oh, it's
said, you
such
just
a
go down
rabbit
this
hole.
rabbit. Yeah,
It's like
you
the
know what I mean?
ultimate rabbit hole. I mean, because there's so many eras, and then you learn about, how the different members sort of, have their own peaks and valleys,
Yeah,
and uh yes. So oh yeah, I do remember the watching the American Band documentary pretty early on. And
it's the same as that. Same as that,
yeah,
bro. And that,
yeah,
do you remember that biography channel documentary? That was a big thing for me getting into
Brian
Brian.
Wilson, right?
Yeah, that was fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
It was like 2 hours long. And then
that was yeah.
the tapes are destroyed. The tapes are destroyed. I was like, fuck, tapes are destroyed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was, I remember they played that clip of Daddy Dear from Brian and Holland. That was like,
Yeah, yeah.
whoa. He's like, where did that come from? I think about it, and it's like in the span of like 2 years, I knew everything about the Beach Boys, and I knew that was like a really rare tape. It's
I'm
so
with
it's
you on
so
that.
wild, like how quickly you can. Something about their catalog is just really inviting, and you can,
Yeah.
you know, if you get into it, it's like you can figure everything out pretty fast. And I see newer fans like on that same page now, you know. You
Mm.
see them on like YouTube and in these chats and stuff, and it's wild, man. It's definitely I, yeah, I wish everybody would get into them because it's just a lot of fun.
What music was popular when you first got into them? What was it, new metal or any of that stuff?
Would have been like late 90s. So
So we're literally the same time period we got into the Beach Boys.
okay, yeah, right around like Endless Harmony documentary and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
Um
like yeah, probably yeah, maybe 2000 even. 99 2000.
mhm,
Maybe yeah, around that. It would have been.
mhm.
Yeah. Crazy,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. It was a fun time because it was like before like uh things were still like you still had to buy like DVDs and
Yeah.
you know we're on like dial-up connections and shit, so we couldn't stream stuff.
Did you
But
did you download the Smile Live when he first did it? I remember I got this incredibly bad MP3 and I was listening to it. And you know all the
oh
shit that you hadn't heard. I was like, "Oh fuck, man!" Like that part of I don't know did he do it on the live version, but the "Easy, my child, it's just enough to believe, I believe."
right.
Just that kind of part. I'm not sure was that. I'm not sure was there singing on that or was it just that kind of guitar part or something. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, I just remember like just the worst quality you could ever have, and it's still blowing my mind. Going, "Wow,
Was it
fuck!"
an audience tape or was it like the
Yeah, it was
actual
from.
album?
No, it was from the wild. It was like a some dude recorded it like at the Royal Festival
Mm,
Hall, like from a fucking tape
right.
recorder or something like that.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I remember hearing that for the first time, and
Yeah,
yeah, it was pretty wild. I remember thinking, yo, Brian sounds pretty good on this stuff. Like
yeah,
he
yeah,
yeah, because his live shows were really touch and go, especially I mean, they always were really, but I
yeah,
thought that he sort of perked up a bit during those songs and like he sounded a little better than he had before.
yeah, yeah.
Uh
I
I
agree.
remember yeah, just like the whole show, he was like really engaged and like on pitch and you know.
Yeah, strange, isn't it? Probably his mental. Just he was like feeling good, so he kind of just sang good. I don't know. Maybe it's something just
Right.
like that. Maybe it's something.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
you
Yeah,
don't
yeah, that
fucking.
was that was exciting times and there's a lot more activity back then.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
Brian's pretty much I think he's pretty much called it a day at this
I think
point.
so. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, he's man. The dude's done enough. I think
Yeah,
you
he's
know
81 now.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's, once you're like into your 80s, I think, you
Yeah,
really, things start going a little downhill, I think, for most
yeah,
people. For most people,
yeah.
not everybody. But I mean, Paul, he's the same age and look at him, man. He's like, "Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah. All right,
Come
guys.
see me live."
I'll go do an AI version of me so good. But
Yeah,
yeah.
just keeping up with the times, because I'm 20, I'm not 80, right? You know.
God bless Paul McCartney. I love that man.
Oh, he's the best.
Do you
He's the
know
best.
the
I
the
have so much respect for him. You see the video of him arriving at what was it? Oh, it's the Beyonce show. There's a video
Oh, no
circulating
way.
of him. Yeah. It was like from like a month ago or 2 months ago or
All
something. And
right.
he's arriving with I think it's Stella, his
Oh
daughter.
my God.
And dude, he looks so fucking cool, man. He walks like a 20-year-old. Like
Yeah,
he
man.
walks in there like with this bounce and he's just like, waving and stuff. It's just like how the fuck can someone be 81 and be so fucking cool?
Yeah,
I,
he's
I
he's the man. He's
he
the man.
really is, man. He
Y-
does like I don't know, maybe being a vegetarian is worth it.
Yeah, man, I like chicken. I can't. I love animals. I was a vegan for like 2 years. I've never was as sick in my life. I was so
Oh,
sick.
really?
I was
Oh
so
shit.
sick. Like it's like anything, man. Not everything works for everyone. You know what I mean? Not every diet works for everyone. I think
Hmm.
in anywhere of life, no
That's
matter
true.
what it is, not everything works for everyone. Just for me, it just wasn't just didn't work. Like back
Yeah.
to Smile. Do you know the only thing I hate, not the only thing, but the thing I hate
Mm.
most about that Brian Wilson presents Smile is they used the
Yeah.
fucking digital harpsichord. Like they
They
used a
did.
digital harpsichord. I
On
like
Wonderful, right?
oh bro, every time I hear it, I'm like fucking harpsichord from like a Korg or something like that. Because they said it sounded better than the real harpsichord. I'm like, no,
Who
that's
said
just
that?
there's an interview with like where you can go where there's an old thing and they talk about why they used the digital harpsichord and they said it sounded better than the actual harpsichord. I think it's with Darian or one of those.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was in like a sound. It wasn't sound on sound. It was like a kind of. It was like one of those tech magazines, and I was like, "There's no way that a harpsichord, a fucking digital harpsichord, sounds better than a real harpsichord."
I remember thinking that the tempo was way slow compared to the original. Um,
Yeah, it's a bit slower, isn't it?
it is, yeah. I wonder if like that would have made it sound worse, but still, like it's a real harpsichord. How would it not sound better? I
Yeah,
think, you know, what I find with production, music production, like things don't sound dated until a little later. So like maybe at the time
true.
when they were recording it, it was like, oh wow, this sounds really good. And then, you know,
Yeah, maybe.
not too long after, they were like, uh-oh.
It was the first thing that threw me when I listened to it.
I know.
I was like,
Yeah.
is that a fucking, that can't be a real harpsichord. Because it
I
sounded,
know.
it didn't have that kind of depth, like a real harpsichord has. Like it's a
We should
slight
get
depth.
Darian on here and yell at him about that.
Yeah, just going, you piece of shit, Darren. How could you do this stuff?
And because he's so good. Like I
He's
love the
class, man.
Wonderman stuff.
Oh,
And
that Bali album's brilliant.
yes, yeah, I love Hypno Love. It actually I thought of maybe doing like a Beach Boys AI version of one of his songs
That would be
just for
cool, man.
him, you know.
That would be
Um,
cool. I actually tried to get
yeah.
Darian on. I asked David Leaf because he said he'd
Mm,
ask him for me. And he said, I was just
okay.
too busy. He was just too busy. Maybe contact me in a few
Mm,
months. So I said, oh, yeah, maybe I'll get back to him in a few months. But he'd be cool
yeah,
to have on. You could grill the shit out of him.
that would be great. Yeah. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff to talk about. He'll probably be a bit tight-lipped about some things, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
might be
Like,
able to get some good information from him.
I've had a lot of Beach Boys kind of things. And I've had, obviously Van Dyke and I've had Mark, but I've had the guy who did, Brent, who did that
Oh,
that Brian Wilson documentary, the
right.
Long Promise Road. I had the director of that on.
I got to check. I saw that. I got to check that one out.
That was a cool movie. I really liked that
No,
because
no, no, not the movie, the podcast.
oh
I
right,
gotta see the
okay, okay.
podcast.
You've obviously seen that movie.
Definitely seen the movie. Yeah, Long Promise Road.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was he was a bit more talkative than I expected actually, although he's Brian, but um
Like the fact he never heard, which he probably did a million times, but he's like, "Oh no, I never heard Dennis's album." You're like, "Well, really?" Like, okay,
let's go
obviously.
listen to it for the first
Yeah,
time.
I was like, "What the fuck?" It's like you clearly have, but like shit like that is weird because like the interview guy is like playing along with it. He's like, "All right," you're like, "Dude, come on." So it's
I
yeah,
wonder, yeah, is he playing with us? Probably not, could just be
no,
that his memory is just fucking shot.
yeah,
And that he
yeah.
just like literally just doesn't remember shit anymore. But then he remembers like very specific things.
Yeah, yeah. I could have
Um,
met him. I could have met him before because when we were over at the Royal Festival Hall,
mm,
Scott's wife said to us, "Do you want to come to the gig tomorrow night?" And we're like, "Oh, dude, we've nowhere to stay. We're in London." And I said, "If we can get a place, we can stay." And she goes, "Oh, you can come back and meet Brian." And we're like, "Oh,
what?
shit." But I didn't really want to meet him. I was like, I know that sounds weird. I wouldn't
Yeah.
really want to meet him because it'd be like, hey, that's it. You're like, okay. It's
Yeah, is
you know.
I have a couple I had a few interactions with Brian
Oh, really?
back when he was first started touring. I was sort of in a bit of an inner circle type situation with Brian's band, and
Oh, cool.
um I was I got to go backstage when he played BB King's in 2000. I was a kid,
Oh, that's cool,
and
man.
it was during the intermission, and Brian was having trouble with his hearing, with his ear. He's only got one good ear, but the
Yes,
one good
yes.
ear was giving him problems. And so we go backstage, meet my dad and my dad's friend, and we hear from down the hall. Like the backstage was like almost like a hallway,
Hmm.
and with like all the rooms, I guess, off to the side or whatever. And we hear testing 1 2, testing 1 2 3 4, coming from like down the hallway. It's Brian, and he's got his finger in his ear and he's yelling like at the top of his lungs, testing 1 2. We're like, what the fuck? What's going on? And he's someone was like next to him, like almost like escorting him a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, someone, I think it might have been Scott. We talked to Scott and Jeff, and they said, yeah, something, his ear, his good ear is not feeling good today or something.
Yeah.
Um, and so Brian's walking and he walks towards us, right? He's about to pass us. And I thought, well, let me shoot my shot. So I just kind of I got in his face while he was doing this testing 1 2 thing. I was like, "Hey, Brian," and he looks at me and he gives me this huge smile. He goes, "Hey," and then he just keeps walking. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Uh,
That's such a Brian Wilson interaction, isn't it?
oh, totally. Yeah, I had a few. There was one, another one where I saw them at Jones Beach the next year, and Andy Paley was in the band at the time.
Oh
So
shit.
yeah, so we talked to him. I don't know how, but I think he might have even came up to me, or I forget. But we talked to Andy Paley, and I was telling him how I liked like stuff like Frankie Avalon and all these songs from the Paley
Brilliant.
sessions.
Brilliant.
And he was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I love that stuff." He's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "Dude, come on, we got to go tell Brian this." I was like, "What?"
Oh shit.
So he takes me to the front of the line. At the time, Brian was like signing autographs. He we cut the line, and he goes, "Brian, look, this kid, he likes Frankie Avalon and all this stuff." And Brian was just completely like, "What?" he was he didn't even really know what he was talking about, you know. Uh, and
That's funny.
but I got my autograph, I got to cut the line and
That's
stuff.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah. But
That
you
fu-
could tell, like, that's, Paley was like, "Oh, like this, maybe this will convince Brian to finally put that shit out."
no, maybe, you know. Yeah. It'd be cool if I'd love to see what I think he would actually genuinely like what you're doing. I think he
Brian or
really
Paley?
or both. Well, I think Brian. I think Brian would.
Hmm.
I think he'd appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think he
I,
would.
w- I would hope so. Yeah. I mean, some people are saying, well, it's just going to make him go crazy. He's not going to know what it is. But, uh, you know,
Nah, I
yeah,
think
if,
he.
if he's in like a good state, like it probably just depends on like what kind of day he's having, like if it's a good day, he's in it feeling good, the flow state's right,
Yeah.
and he learns about it. Yeah, maybe it'll be something that he would enjoy. I hope he gets to hear it. That would be cool.
If someone did something of AI of mine, I'd be like, that's fucking cool. Like that's why, like, you know what I mean? Like it'd be like McCartney and Lennon and the people that would hear that, they'd be like, "Oh, that's fucking cool." It's the people like who would be like
Yeah.
the gatekeepers of it, like, "Oh no, no, no," you know what I mean? And
True. Yeah, like I could see like yeah, like if someone did something really cool with one of my songs, I'd be like,
yeah,
"Wow, that's fucking awesome."
exactly. It's all the other people around it. They're like, "Oh, you can't touch that," and like most people
Hmm,
who are artists are thinking ahead, so they're gonna look at it and go, you know, like as far as I can tell,
interesting.
they've used AI in that new Beatles song. They said they haven't, but I heard stuff that
Yeah.
they've used AI in the vocals. They
Right.
said they
Someone
have.
came out and said that they de-aged McCartney's voice, but we don't know if that's true yet.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
Penn Jillette said that actually. I think it was.
right. Right. Yeah. And his account was I mean, it seemed like there were a lot of details there, but
Yeah,
uh,
he did say
you
though,
know,
"Free as a Bird" came out in the '80s, so that was like, I was like, bro, come on, bro, come
or
on.
yeah, no, no, no. He said they worked on it in the 80s.
Okay,
Like,
okay,
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah. Which is
Shit,
totally it's off by a decade. But
just 10 years off, not too
yeah.
bad.
So I don't know. I don't know if they really de-age McCartney's voice. Uh I don't know,
Definitely.
but it's strange that he said that because Paul's been really adamant that they have not done any de-aging. Although he didn't really specifically mention his voice. He was talking about John's, right? Uh,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
and then Ringo. Actually, I was holding on to Return to Pepperland for a couple of months because I thought, well, I wonder if the Beatles can use this somehow, you know.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to like put it out actually. So I had it done for a while before I actually
Okay.
released it. Um and buddy, what are you doing? Where's that baby? Uh God man, constantly. Uh anyway, so but then Ringo like made that statement, we're never gonna do AI, blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh, all right, you know what? Let me just throw this out there then. Uh
Goodbye.
but that's kind of how I feel about all this stuff. It's like I really do feel like some of these could be released commercially, but like what am I supposed to do if they're not on board yet? Or will they ever be
Yeah.
on board? I don't know. So I just put the shit out.
It's funny because like the day before you put that out, I was just going through YouTube and stuff, and
Mm,
I had never heard that Paul McCartney returned to Pepperland demo, and I got some
mm,
through some forum, and I was like, oh fuck, I listened to that, and I listened to it. I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then the next
mm.
day, your version came out. I was like, fucking hell, that's class, man. Because it was like it's like kind of how it should have sounded, you know, that kind of pepper kind of vibe. It had that kind of
Right.
like because that era of the Beatles is my favorite era, the psychedelic magical mystery tour. That's my
Oh yeah.
favorite kind of.
That's so good. Yeah, and Paul was like return to Pepperland. He was trying to write about that stuff and trying to return to that a bit. And you can even tell like with the break, like when he goes into the instrumental part with the guitar and the well, he's got like some synthesizer 80s synths in there. But
The
you could
shiver
tell he was
there.
doing like the same thing as like what they did in Pepper with the doot 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 doot
Yeah,
doot doot.
yeah,
Doot.
yeah.
It was like that whole same vibe, same chords, I think, too. Uh so yeah, I mean, dude was trying to write Pepper Part 2 for sure. So that stuck out to me as something that would work really well as like a Beatles AI reunion kind of
W
track.
would you ever
Uh,
like finish the rest of that album off?
hell no.
There's
Hell
some
no.
clunkers
Well,
on that album. That's the problem.
yeah, I don't actually, I think I haven't even heard all of it, but I know Lindiana. I actually like Lindiana. It's very, very 80s. uh,
That's like it. There's some of the like that was a weird time for like people, you know, like a lot of artists who came from the 70s into the 80s. It was like such a
mm,
weird like some of that like I'm a massive Miles Davis fan, and like some of
mm.
that Miles Davis shit in the 80s I cannot listen to it. Like it's just like, oh bro, like I think
Miles
it's because
Davis?
yeah, in the 80s Miles Davis I just can't listen to some of that, like just the
What did he
production.
get all like Cynthia and stuff?
Yeah, just the production. It's got the like the big reverb snare, you know, just like, oh shit, man.
Oh
Like
man, yeah, you don't want to hear Miles Davis over like synths and shit.
no, no, you don't. Like I remember me and my friend went to see Herbie Hancock a few months ago, and
Oh, nice.
he whipped out the old synths, and we were like, oh no, Herbie, don't, no, no. So it's just synths and jazz is just something that I cannot get with. I know that sounds like such a dickhead purist kind of thing, but for me, I cannot stand a synth with a fucking jazz music. It's just like no, no, you've lost me. It just,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just, and I found that for a lot of like you know, like McCartney going into the 80s, they just kind of
Mm,
got lost in that kind of the production is where it kind of loses me. You know, like just
right.
some of the 80s production is
Well, that's Paul's shtick, like he always tries to like update himself. He wants to be current,
yeah.
you know.
I
So
admire that. Like I admire it. Like but
it is kind of cool in a way. But I think the 80s was the last time where it really was successful for him. Like that's probably like when he had his last hits. Uh,
yeah.
but then
Yeah.
yeah, after that, I don't know. I love the Wings stuff.
Wings is good.
Yeah,
Wings is
Wings.
good.
I love Back to the Egg. Like that. I feel like that was
That's a
his
cool
last
record.
like. It really is like that. I feel like that's his last like youth statement, kind of. Like
Right.
after that, it's like you start getting into like adult contemporary stuff.
I know what you mean. Though
You know what I
though
mean?
one of his favorite my favorite albums of his is Case and Creation in the Backyard. It's
Mm,
fucking Backyard. That is
yeah,
fucking brilliant.
such a
Like
great album. Yeah, he has had a renaissance for sure. Like after, dude, Memory Almost Full is a great fucking album too.
that's good too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
good.
that's those three albums, like Chaos, Memory. Oh wait, and then he did New, right?
Yeah, news
New, I
okay.
actually, yeah, I don't like it as much as Memory Almost Full or Egypt
No,
Station. I
I'm
think it
with you on
ranks a
that.
little bit lower.
Yeah,
But I do like the song New. I like Alligator.
alligator's
Uh,
cool. Damn.
Alligator's a really cool. That's probably the coolest song on there. But I
Yeah,
felt like some of those songs sounded a bit like, let's just knock off a quick song.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Save Me was good too.
Save Us. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Save Us, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did start an AI version of that one, but again, it's
Oh,
like,
dude, that'd be cool.
yeah, I can't do AI stuff because with McCartney solo because they just fucking yank it every time. So
Really?
yeah,
Oh, that sucks, man.
sucks. It really
Electric
does.
Arguments, that was a class record. Remember that was a side project
Oh
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
That's right.
Fireman.
The Sing the Changes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Highway. That
Oh,
was a
and then
class
that
film.
what's that other song? It's kind of a long title. I can't remember. There was like a Dance Like There's No Tomorrow, I
Oh,
think.
oh yeah, yeah. And we'll do. Yeah, yeah, that was
Almost
cool.
has like a Coldplay feel to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's some great
Mhm.
songs in that. Highway was my favorite on that. Yeah, that was
Oh,
great.
nice.
That
All
was
right.
fucking with the harmonica, shit like that. Was it
I mean,
harmonica?
I even liked McCartney 3. I thought there was some really good shit on there too. Like
Yeah, there was some.
the
Yeah, some alright stuff on that. It
I
wasn't. I
loved
did.
Sliding. That to me
Yeah, that
is
was
like
cool.
that was a great vocal from Paul.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. He kind of used his older voice. He didn't try to, because sometimes when he tries to sing like his older self, his younger self,
mm,
it doesn't really work out as well because it's like he's reaching for the note, and it's just
mm.
unfortunately, time is gets us all. You know what I mean?
It's a, yeah, his voice is an interesting thing. I wonder if he's tried to work with a vocal instructor like in the past year or two since then,
I'd say
because
so.
I mean probably not, right? But
I don't know. I think he might because like
mm.
I seen him live, but live on TV a while ago, and he sounded way better than he did. We'll say like a year ago or 2 years ago. Whenever I
Was
seen him
that the
put it,
are you talking about the where did he play last year? He did like some big festival last year, right?
Glastonbury.
Glastonbury, yeah. And he
Yeah,
did sound pretty good for that. That was
yeah,
yeah, I was happy for him because that was a big moment for him, you know.
that was cool. That was cool,
Yeah.
especially the part where when he sung oh fuck with John. Everybody got a
Oh,
right.
I've got a feeling.
I've got a feeling. Yeah, that was cool,
Mhm.
man. That was
That
cool.
was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you can always tell when people love music by the amount of work they put into it. You can always like,
Mm,
you can see that how much you love music by the amount of time you
mm,
put into it. Especially like, I haven't heard your own music, but they're just going off the Beach Boys stuff. Like,
yeah.
there's a lot of time put into that and a lot
Oh,
of
for sure. Yeah.
listening and like really listening.
Critical
You can,
listening.
yeah, exactly, exactly. You can
Mm.
tell that you're honoring the music as opposed to some shithead who's just running a fucking Soviets.
Running
You
the
know what I mean?
filter.
Like just running
Yeah.
a that doesn't really give a shit. They just want like someone to go, that was great and whatever. And
Thank you
yeah,
so much, man. Yeah, I try. And yeah, like I said, I care about the legacy and stuff. And I know that what I'm doing is tampering with like historical shit. So uh, it does mean a lot to me to make sure everything sounds really good. So I do my best. And
yeah.
hey, on that note, I gotta go get a haircut in 5 minutes.
I
So
know. I was just about to say, and that's a great note to end it on.
dude, yeah, it was actually a really lot of fun talking to you, man. You're a cool dude, and I
Yeah,
hope
man, you too.
we get a chance to do this again at some point.
Oh man, I'd love to. I'd love to. Is there anything info you can give on what's next for you or anything like that? Or you're keeping a low profile?
I think yeah, I don't know yet, but maybe I'll switch gears and go back to Beatles for a little bit. We'll see. I got a
Okay.
couple ideas like for early Beatles stuff.
Okay. That's cool,
Yeah,
brother. That's cool. Hey
yeah,
man,
man.
thank you so much for doing this. I really enjoyed it.
100%, man. Likewise. Take care
Defo.
over there.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Get some sleep, man. I know it's late there.
It's fucking 2 o'clock, hey.
All
All right, brother.
right,
Take
bro.
it
I'll
easy.
talk to you soon.
You too, bro. Bye bye. Bye.
Later.